Good morning, students. Today we will discuss the human digestive system. Children, be very careful and attentive when the class is going on. This is a very new concept which you are going to learn. Dear students, the human digestive system consists of the alimentary canal and its associated glands. Look at the picture of the human digestive system. We see various organs of human digestive system in the picture. Let us start with mouth. Mouth, then esophagus or food pipe, stomach, small intestine, large intestine, rectum and anus. All these organs form the alimentary canal of human digestive system. Now, look at the glands. The salivary glands in the mouth, liver found in the upper part of the abdomen on the right side, and pancreas, which is a large cream colored gland located just below the stomach. Do you see the three associated glands, salivary glands, liver and pancreas? Okay. Now, these glands and the organs of the alimentary canal together form the human digestive system. Understand? The ducts or pipes of these salivary glands, liver and pancreas open into the alimentary canal and pour the secretions of the digestive juices into the alimentary canal. Now look into the figure. Look at the mouth and locate the salivary glands. So, salivary glands secrete the juice in the mouth, and liver and pancreas, they secrete the juice into the upper part of the small intestine. Understand? It is because of these secretions that digestion is possible. Understand, students? Okay. Now, let us start with the mouth. What happens in the mouth or buccal cavity? Dear students, mouth is also called buccal cavity. Food is taken into the body or ingested through the mouth. The digestion of food starts as soon as we put the food in our mouth. The mouth or buccal cavity contains teeth, tongue and salivary glands. The teeth cut the food into small pieces, chew and grind it. Dear students, this part of the digestion is called physical method of digestion. Understand? Here no chemicals have been used. Okay. Only the foods have been broken into small pieces by grinding and chewing. Okay. Now what happens next? The salivary glands secrete a watery liquid called saliva. Dear students, don't you find that your mouth is wet all the time inside? Yes. Actually, this wetness is due to the watery liquid called saliva secreted by the salivary glands. Understand? Okay. So, this salivary gland secrete a watery liquid called saliva. The tongue helps in mixing saliva with food. Okay. So, this is the function of the tongue in digestion. It helps in mixing saliva with food. Saliva is a digestive juice. Okay. What is it? It is a digestive juice which helps to digest the starch present in the food partially. Okay. The food like potato, rice which we eat, they are rich in starch. So this type of food which contains starch is digested partially in the food with the help of saliva. Okay. Now, the slightly digested food is swallowed by the tongue and goes down into esophagus or food pipe. Children, please note that in the mouth, only the starch component of the food is digested, that also partially. Protein and fats are not digested in the mouth. Clear? Okay. Now let us discuss what happens to the food in the esophagus or food pipe. For that, open the page 20. What is esophagus? The esophagus is a tube or pipe which connects the mouth or buccal cavity to stomach. Esophagus is also commonly known as food pipe. It runs along the neck and chest. Okay, esophagus carries the slightly digested food from the mouth to the stomach. The food coming from mouth moves down through esophagus by peristalsis. What is peristalsis? It is a type of movement through which the food passes through the esophagus. How it happens? Look into the book. When the food enters the esophagus at the top end, the muscles in the walls of esophagus start alternate contractions and relaxations, producing a wave-like movement which pushes the food downwards towards the stomach. Okay. Due to alternate contraction and relaxation of the muscle wall of esophagus, the food is pushed downwards towards the stomach. Understand? Now, children, you must have vomited at least once in your life, isn't it? So, what happens during vomiting? How the food comes out from the mouth? Listen. During vomiting, the food moves in the opposite direction, that is from stomach to mouth. How? By the process of antiperistalsis in the food pipe. Means due to contraction and relaxation of muscles in the opposite direction, the food comes out from the stomach and goes and it is vomited through the mouth. Understand, children? Okay. Now let us discuss what happens to the food in the stomach. But before that, let us describe the structure of the stomach. Look into the figure and see the structure of the stomach. The stomach is a thick-walled bag present on the left side of the abdomen. Okay, which side of the abdomen? Left side. Okay, and it is a thick-walled bag. It is the widest part of the alimentary canal. Understand? And it's slightly U-shaped. Do you see, students? Okay. Now, esophagus or food pipe brings the slightly digested food from the mouth into stomach. Now here, food is further digested in the stomach. The food is churned in the stomach for about 3 hours. Dear students, food remains in the stomach for the maximum period of the time comparatively. Okay? During this time, the food breaks down into still smaller pieces and makes a semi-solid paste. So in the stomach, due to churning process, the food is converted into semi-solid paste. Okay. Children, always remember that the inner walls of all the organs of the alimentary canal keeps on contracting and relaxing, which is called the peristaltic movement. It is happening throughout the alimentary canal, and it is by this process that food is churned in the stomach. Okay. Now, the inner lining of the stomach. Okay. The inner lining of stomach secretes mucus, hydrochloric acid and digestive juices. So there are 3 secretions given by the inner lining of the stomach. Now what are their functions? Mucus. It protects the lining of stomach from its own secretion of hydrochloric acid. Children, we all know that hydrochloric acid is corrosive in nature. You have studied in the chapter acid, bases and salt, isn't it? So, mucus, it prevents the or protects the inner lining of the stomach from the corrosive action of the hydrochloric acid which is produced by the inner walls of the stomach. Understand? Now, what is the function of hydrochloric acid? Hydrochloric acid kills any bacteria which may enter the stomach, okay, along with the food. And hydrochloric acid also makes the medium in the stomach acidic, which is very necessary for the proper action of digestive juices on proteins. Okay, so digestive juices produced by the stomach can function only in the presence of acidic medium, which is provided by hydrochloric acid. So this is the function of hydrochloric acid. And what is the function of digestive juice? The digestive juices secreted by the stomach lining break down the proteins present in our food into simpler substances. Okay. Now, the partially digested food then goes from the stomach into the small intestine. Children, please note that it is the protein part of the food which is digested partially in the stomach by the action of the digestive juice. Understand, students? Okay. Starch was partially digested in the mouth and protein is partially digested in the stomach. Now the food will enter into the small intestine. Now what happens to the food in the small intestine? But before that, let us describe the small intestine. The small intestine is a very long tube. It is about 7.5 meters long. Children, it is a very long tube, isn't it? It is 7.5 meters long. Though small intestine is very long, it is called small intestine. Why? Because it is quite a narrow tube. Understand? Because the tube is very narrow, it is called small intestine. The small intestine is arranged in the form of coil in our body. Look into the figure of the digestive system. Do you see it is the small intestine, how they are coiled? That is why they are able to fit in our digestive system, isn't it? In our abdomen. Isn't it, students? Yes. Now, the small intestine in human beings is the site of complete digestion of food. Dear students, all components of the food are completely digested where? In the small intestine. Okay. And the small intestine is also the main region for the absorption of digested food. So, complete digestion of food and absorption of food. Both these processes take place in the small intestine. How it happens? This happens as follows. Number A, complete digestion of food in small intestine. Children, listen very carefully. The partially digested food from stomach comes into small intestine. The small intestine receives secretion of digestive juices from the liver, pancreas and its own walls. So, digestive juices are given by the liver, digestive juices are given by the pancreas and digestive juices are secreted by the walls of the small intestine also. All these digestive juices carry out the complete digestion of food as follows. Liver. Liver secretes a liquid called bile, which is stored temporarily in the sac called gallbladder. Look into the picture, students. Do you see the picture of gallbladder? Yes. The bile plays an important part in the digestion of the fats. What does it do? Actually, bile converts fats into tiny droplets so that their further breakdown becomes easy. Okay? Yes. Now, what does the pancreas do? Pancreas secretes pancreatic juice. Pancreatic juice breaks down fats completely into fatty acids and glycerol. So, here the complete digestion of fat has taken place. Dear students, the simplest form of fats are fatty acids and glycerol, and they are water soluble. So they are fully digested. Understand? Partly by the bile and completely by the pancreatic juice. Children, is it becoming clear to you? Yes. Besides this, pancreatic juice also breaks down starch, carbohydrates and proteins into simpler form. So we all know that proteins and carbohydrates are partly digested in the mouth, in the stomach and mouth, and proteins in the stomach and carbohydrates in the mouth. Now they are further converted into simpler forms by the action of pancreatic juice, but they are not fully digested. Now, what will the walls of the small intestine do? The walls of the small intestine secrete a digestive juice called intestinal juice. Understand? Which juice, children? Intestinal juice. It is secreted by the walls of the small intestine. And what does it do? Intestinal juice breaks down the starch and carbohydrate completely into the simplest sugar called glucose and the proteins into amino acids. Understand? So starch and carbohydrates which were partially digested till now are completely digested by the action of intestinal juice, and proteins which was also partially digested till now is completely digested by the action of intestinal juice. In this way, our food breaks down completely into very small water-soluble substances like glucose, fatty acids and glycerol, and amino acids. So these are called digested food. Understand? This glucose, fatty acids, glycerol and amino acids are called digested food. Clear? Okay. Now, let us discuss how absorption of digested food in small intestine takes place. The digested food can now pass into the blood vessels in the walls of the small intestine. This process is called absorption. Understand? The small intestine is specially adapted for absorbing the digested food. For that, look into the picture given on the screen. Do you see how the inner walls of the small intestine look like? Yes. The inner surface of the small intestine has millions of tiny finger-like outgrowths called villi. Okay. And the singular of villi is called villus. Dear students, do you see that each villus has a network of thin and small blood vessels? Have you located? Yes. These thin and small blood vessels are called blood capillaries and they are very close to the surface of the each villus. Okay. Now look into the book. How the villi helps in the rapid absorption of food. This we will discuss now. The presence of villi gives the inner walls of the small intestine a very large surface area which helps in the rapid absorption of food. Understand? So, the role of villi in the small intestine is to increase the surface area for the rapid absorption of digested food. Blood from the villi carries the absorbed food materials to the cells in all parts of the body. Okay, after the absorption of the food by the blood, what does the blood do? The blood carries the absorbed food materials to the cells in all the parts of the body. Okay, in the cells, what happens to the food? The food is used for energy, growth, and repair. This is called assimilation. Understand? The utilization of the food for energy, growth, and repair is called assimilation. Okay? Now, we all know that the simpler substance formed after digestion are glucose, amino acids, and fatty acids and glycerol. So, what happens to them? Glucose breaks down in the cells and food is and cells with the help of oxygen to form carbon dioxide and water and releases energy. Okay. Now what happens to the fatty acids? Fatty acids and glycerol build components of cells and form fats to be stored in the body as food reserves. So extra fat is stored in the body as food reserves. Food reserves means when you will require more energy, then this fat will be converted into glucose and it will give energy. Understand? That is why it is called food reserves. They are also called the storehouse of energy. Now, amino acids. Amino acids are used to make proteins required for the growth and repair of the body. Understand? Protein helps in the growth of the body and also helps in the repair of the body wherever there is wear and tear. Understand? Now, let us learn what happens in the large intestine. But before that, let us read about the structure of large intestine. The large intestine is about 1.5 meters long. Dear students, the length of the large intestine is 1.5 meters long, whereas the length of the small intestine is 7.5 meters long. But still, this is called large intestine. Why? It is called large intestine because it is a quite wide tube. Understand? The tube is wider than the small intestine. Okay? That is why this coil of tube is called large intestine. Okay? Now what happens here? The undigested and unabsorbed food from the small intestine enters into large intestine. Dear students, all the food which we eat are not digested. Some of the food is undigested, okay, and they are not absorbed by the small intestine. So this food is called undigested and unabsorbed food. This passes from the small intestine into the large intestine. Okay. Now, what does the large intestine do? The large intestine absorbs most of the water from the undigested food material. We know that water is a useful thing, so that is absorbed from the undigested food material. Okay. Now, due to the removal of water, the undigested food becomes semi-solid. Okay. Now, this undigested food or waste material, it is called waste material because our body does not require this undigested food. Okay, that is why it is called waste material. So, this waste material is stored in the last part of the large intestine called rectum for some time. Children, when we go to toilet, the undigested semi-solid waste is passed out from our body through anus in the form of feces. This is called egestion. Understand? So, egestion is the process by which undigested food is removed out from our body in the form of feces. Understand? So here we complete all the 5 stages or 5 steps of animal nutrition. Hope children you liked it. Okay. Dear students, now I am going to discuss a very small but very interesting topic. Why do we get hiccups? Okay, children, we all know that in our body there are two pipes. One is windpipe and another is food pipe. Food pipe carries the food and windpipe carries the air from the nostrils to the lungs. Okay, but these two pipes cross each other at the throat. Throat is the portion just behind the tongue. Okay, so how we get hiccups? That listen carefully and also look into the book, page 22. This happens as follows. Normally, when we swallow food, then a flat piece of cartilage called epiglottis drops over the mouth of windpipe, forming a bridge over which food passes and goes into food pipe without falling into windpipe. Dear students, where the windpipe and food pipe crosses, there is a muscular structure cartilage called epiglottis. So when we eat the food, then this epiglottis closes the mouth of the windpipe and therefore the food does not enter into the windpipe. Okay. But sometimes, however, when we eat too fast in a hurry or talk too much or laugh while eating, then what happens? Then a little of windpipe remains open, due to which food particles may enter the windpipe. When the food particles enter the windpipe, we may get hiccups or choking sensation. Hiccups produce a characteristic gulping sound repeatedly. Isn't it, children? I think you all must have experienced. Hiccups is also called hichki in Hindi. Okay? The blockage in windpipe caused by food particles is usually cleared by coughing. So, by coughing, when we have hiccups, when we do coughing, then the food which has entered the windpipe comes out from it and goes again into the food pipe. Understood, children? Now, why do we get hiccups? Okay. Dear students, now open the page 24 and look at the topic diarrhea. We will discuss about diarrhea and how it can be cured. Okay? Listen attentively. The condition in which a person passes out watery stools frequently is called diarrhea. Watery stool means loose motion. Okay? When loose motion comes out from the person frequently, it is called diarrhea. Diarrhea is called dast in Hindi. Okay? Diarrhea may be caused by an infection due to disease causing microorganisms, food poisoning or indigestion. Diarrhea is a kind of disease. Okay. Diarrhea is very common in India, particularly among children. Diarrhea leads to the loss of water and salts from the body of a person through frequent watery stools. Okay. When frequent watery stool occurs, then what happens? There is loss of water and salts from the body. Okay. This loss of water from the body of a person through watery stools is called dehydration. Body lacks water and this condition is called dehydration. The sudden loss of too much water or dehydration makes a person dangerously ill in a very short time. Excessive dehydration of body caused by diarrhea can even lead to death. So, diarrhea should never be neglected. Okay, whenever somebody is having diarrhea, they should be they suffer from dehydration, and the first aid or the first treatment for the diarrhea is to make the person rehydrated. So how it can be done? This we will read in the next paragraph. In order to prevent dehydration, the person suffering from diarrhea should be given a solution of sugar and salt in clean water many times a day. Okay. What should be given? Sugar and salt in clean water many times a day. What is this actually? The solution of sugar and salt in water is called oral rehydration solution. Oral rehydration solution means because the solution is given through the mouth. Okay. We can make an oral rehydration solution ourselves by dissolving a teaspoonful of sugar and a pinch of salt in a glass of clean water. The water used for this purpose should be first boiled and then cooled so as to make it germ free. Understand how to make oral rehydration solution? First you have to boil and cool the water, and then in a glass of that water a teaspoon of sugar and a pinch of salt is mixed. This is called ORS or oral rehydration solution. Oral rehydration solution actually makes up the loss of water and salt in the body. Okay, the water which was lost due to dehydration can be compensated by giving oral rehydration solution. Understand, students? The sugar gives energy which helps in speedy recovery. That is why sugar is given. And salt is given because salt has also been lost along with the water, isn't it? So, thus, the dehydration of body can be prevented during diarrhea by giving oral rehydration solution regularly to the patient. Meanwhile, a doctor should be called in for giving medicines to cure the cause of diarrhea. So, understood, students? I think you must have seen this ORS packets in your house sometimes. Yes, that is used when we suffer from diarrhea. Understood what is diarrhea and how it can be cured? Okay. So here we complete our today's class. I hope you liked this topic. Okay. Go through it, but stay safe, stay healthy. Thank you, children.